Hi, this is Dr. Rodger Murphree, theFibroDoctor.com, author of Treating and Beating Fibromyalgia and Chronic Fatigue Syndrome. May 12th is National Fibromyalgia Awareness Day. So it's been 25 years since the criteria for the diagnosis of fibromyalgia was first proposed by the American College of Rheumatology. 25 years ago, amazing but true, and yet we still have people who don't understand what fibromyalgia is. So in this video, I'd like to share with you a little bit about this syndrome called fibromyalgia. You know, fibromyalgia is a syndrome, which means it's made up by various different symptoms that come together that make up this condition known as fibromyalgia. And chief among these symptoms is diffuse achy muscle pain, poor sleep, low energy, can have low moods, anxiety, restless leg syndrome, and other things that can come under this banner, this syndrome called fibromyalgia. For many people, when they encounter somebody that has fibromyalgia, their first reaction is, well, how can you feel so bad? You look fine. And unbelievably to me, 25 years now into this, we've got doctors out there who still don't believe fibromyalgia exists. We certainly have spouses and loved ones and coworkers who doubt the very existence of this thing called fibromyalgia. I can't imagine what it's like to be a patient with fibromyalgia and encounter this on a day-to-day basis, and though I hear it from my patients all the time. So for those doubters out there who don't believe that fibromyalgia exists, get over it. It is a legitimate illness. It has been proven to be a legitimate illness, although it affects about 98% of the people who have it are women. Men have it as well. And it is estimated now that about 6% of the population, U.S. population, has fibromyalgia, but it is a worldwide condition. We're seeing it throughout the world, this thing called fibromyalgia. Now, I go into a lot of different details about what brings on fibromyalgia, and many doctors like myself feel that it's brought on by a disruption in the HPA axis, the hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenals, which is the self-regulating mechanisms of our body. And when it gets under too much stress, whether that's from a surgery, it's from years and years of chronic stress, whatever is the straw that breaks the camel's back, something goes wrong in the body's chemistry and it cannot regulate itself. And when that happens, you start to get all these symptoms associated with fibromyalgia: poor sleep, achy muscle pain, fatigue, restless leg syndrome, irritable bowel, chemical sensitivities, headaches. All these things start to show up. But what is mind-boggling to me is that we still have individuals out there who don't believe that there's a thing called fibromyalgia. I lecture around North America, and I find doctors who don't believe there's fibromyalgia. When I'm interacting with my patients, I find that many times my patients tell me that their doctor has made them believe that they're either lazy, crazy, or a hypochondriac. And nothing can be further from the truth. Fibromyalgia is very much a real illness. Imagine for a second if you woke up every day with the worst, most intense muscle pain you can imagine. Imagine running a marathon every day for a week and then waking up after that and what you would feel like. And that's what many of my patients feel like on a day-to-day basis. And yet many of them somehow find the strength to get up and go and work a full-time job. Many of them are still active parents and active in their community in volunteer work or working with their schools for their children. So to tell a patient that they just need to lose weight, or they just need to get more sleep, or they're just depressed, or they need to exercise more, that tells me that the physician who's giving this advice is an idiot. And I'm sure there are people in this world who still think that the world is flat. So there's stupid people everywhere. We can't change that. But if you are a spouse or a family member or a coworker with somebody with fibromyalgia, let me share with you somebody who's been working with these patients day in and day out, for the last 18 years. This is a real illness, a real disease. And the people with this illness are very sick. And they don't want to get attention. That's not what they're after. They're not pill seekers. What they want to do is get their life back. So something comes along and it takes their life away and they're never the same. And unfortunately, traditional medicine alone is a dead end for these people. So drug therapy is not the answer. And they find that out eventually they find that out because prescription medications are treating symptoms and not the causes. And so what happens is individuals who have fibromyalgia, if they stay in the conventional system, the conventional medical system, then they get a drug for every symptom that they're on. And they can have 10, 15 different symptoms, whether that's poor sleep, achy muscle pain, fatigue, anxiety, depression, irritable bowel, restless leg syndrome. But that doesn't work. And so what happens is the longer they have fibromyalgia, the sicker they become. The sicker they become, the more likely they are to then complain. I mean, who wouldn't complain? If you had this illness, how could you not complain? So when you're interacting with your spouse and she's telling you that she feels terrible, her muscles are aching, that she can't take the laundry up the steps, or she can't get the kids to school, or she just can't go to work that day, you need to be understanding. If you've got a coworker and he's telling you that his fibromyalgia is flaring up because the weather has changed, you need to be understanding and realize that he is not a wimp or a hypochondriac. He has a thing called fibromyalgia. And this condition, fibromyalgia, which is made up of all these symptoms, is not imagined. I work with patients every day throughout North America who are some of the most resilient, toughest people you can imagine. These are bankers and lawyers and doctors and nurses and grocery store clerks and bus drivers, all across the socioeconomic spectrum. And they get fibromyalgia. They can be type A people, but they can be type Bs. They can be mellow. They can be pushers and movers and shakers. It doesn't matter. When fibromyalgia hits, it hits. And trust me, these people are not hypochondriac. So if you don't know about fibromyalgia, I encourage you to learn more about fibromyalgia, and you certainly can do that at my website, treatingandbeating.com, or read some of my blogs that explain in more detail about fibromyalgia, thefibrodoctor.com. This is Dr. Rodger Murphree, thefibrodoctor.com, wishing you a healthy National Fibromyalgia Awareness Day.